Film Club. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Film Club. I am one of your hosts, Andy Harrison, and to my right is Andy Donaldson.
Hello.
Every single week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us. We dive into some of the history of cinema and figure out whether or not this film still holds up today. Fish Andy, what have we been watching? The Station Master?
The Station Agent.
Was that your drum roll?
Yeah.
Sorry, the Station Agent.
Yeah, it was. Now I've realised I'm putting weight, so I'm trying to give myself a facelift. It works, doesn't it? Staple.
It does. If you just hold your face like that all day long, it'll work.
You get tiresome.
Go on.
The
What is
Station
the
Agent.
Station Agent?
The Station Agent's about a guy who loses his friend that he works with, so he inherits a building. They're both train enthusiasts. The guy, Tyrion Lannister, fucking hell, Peter Dinklage, fucking hell.
The Dink?
The Dink, right? Dinklebot. He's a dwarf, so he goes through life with, and you can tell he's just very sick of people having to go at him. So he kind of like wants his loneliness, and he finds out that this inherited place he has, he's quite enticed by the fact that he's not surrounded by knobheads. And then there's a coffee stand that's nearby by Jip Rossetti, the name of the actor.
I'm going to trust you on that one.
It's Jip Rossetti, trust me.
But if you're wrong, I'll never trust you again.
Jip Rossetti. It's Bobby Cannavale, who plays Jip Rossetti in Boardwalk Empire. Great series. And then he nearly gets run over twice by Patricia Clarkson.
Played by?
Patricia Clarkson. Why?
Playing?
Oh, right. Who's she playing? Olivia. Thank you. And it's just about them three, like, kind of, they're kind of loners in their own way. And the film's almost about, like, isolation, and yet in the same reason it's on about, like, friendship and getting to know one another through isolation. It's ironic, if anything, but I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, me too.
Go on then. What do you think?
So it's not a film that stands out in any particular regard. It's not a film that has huge strengths in like character, not huge strengths in lighting, not huge strengths in camera, not huge strengths in audio, not huge strengths in editing. But the film as a whole is charming through and through, has a really wonderful tone, and manages to tell a very, very compelling, unique story.
It's incredibly compelling. It really is. It's quirkily compelling.
Yeah. Like when I finished this film, I literally just wanted to hit play again and just watch the whole thing again.
And few films do that.
Yeah.
Few films actually genuinely do that. That they're just like... We were on about Sigur Rós earlier, just before we started filming, and just on about, we're both a big fan. And I know it's a bit different because it's technically it's music, but one thing that does that with me is Heimer by Sigur Rós.
Yeah.
Where they go, that's one of those things you can just truly relax to. David Attenborough documentaries, and it sounds weird to go from Heimer to David Attenborough, the Station Agent. It's just got this very authentic, relaxed feel about it.
Yeah.
Which again, it's weird. It's about loneliness, but the good kind of loneliness. It's that
I don't think I've ever wanted to like hit play again on a David Attenborough documentary.
Oh, dude, I fucking wouldn't you?
Really? I don't think I ever have.
I could watch, like, continue watching them and watch them again. A bit like Band of Brothers, really. Anyway, sorry.
I think the thing that has going for it is like it's a slow development of Peter Dinklage's character, Finn.
I'd say, him, but there's others, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, but you can pace it out into 3 sections, which is his slow development of wanting to be alone at first, then accepting and kind of enjoying and starting to enjoy like the company of others.
I love it when he sees like first few smiles come through and his acceptance of Joe, because Joe's the guy played by Bobby Cannavale who kind of like wants to hang out with him, and you see Finbar, it's called him Finn.
Yeah.
Dinklage plays Finn. You see Finn, he's just like, no, I'd rather be alone and all this. And then slowly, over time, Joe kind of persists through and follows him. And there's that great scene where they're watching trains go by, and Joe's really enthusiastic to learn about the trains. And he's like, and you see Finn saying, oh, go for that one there. And that for me is like that point of start their friendship.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. It's really well done. So what you're saying there is like, the second part is acceptance. It's through those smiles, those scenes that he's doing it. And it's really heartwarming.
Yeah. And then you end with the third part, which is like him kind of taking on the responsibility of it as well, and like make like kind of the reality of having friends in that sort of situation, like
Caring.
caring. Like when they have problems, you got to go help them, and you got to keep helping them until they get through that shit.
How do you know that? Because that does not sound like you at all.
Oh,
He's the kind of guy. Just, fucking
I'd drop you in a heartbeat.
No, do you have? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense at all. No, it's true. And it does follow like the perspective of Finn's character, but then it draws the other two because of the way he is and the way it goes and the way the film goes. It draws the other two kind of character arcs of both Joe and Olivia through with you.
Yeah,
And it's obviously it's going to be tied to Finn because, as you said, it's making friends, it's responsibilities. I say repercussions, I use that loosely, of having friends with, because what this film has is each has their own story, and everyone always has their own story in a film, besides if it's something like Fast and Furious, where it's just like no story.
where there is no story, but the cars do things.
So it's just that, they're just there. No, I'm joking. They always tend to have their own story in a film, but with this, they all have their own issues, and almost related, but at the same time, they're vastly different. Like, he has a physical condition that he's sick of. She seems to have a mental, it seems to be a mental condition that's a catalyst, that was from the catalyst being that her son died.
Yeah.
And as for Joe, he just seems to have, he's so enthusiastic and he seems to be, not necessarily put back, but no one else has time for him. And he's got his issue with his dad. Do you reckon there's a sense of escapism inside of him?
I think everyone, you've hit on the nail exactly on the head, which is everyone has this like secondary thing which thematically links them to why they're alone. And for Finn, it's because he's grown up that way. He eventually grew like away from people because like everyone is always acknowledging the fact that he has dwarfism. Then you then got
Dwarfism, that's the one, yeah.
You then got Olivia, who were at some point like splintered because of the death of her son, and then you've got Joe, who is currently dealing with having to run his father's business and look after his father, and doesn't have like my assumption with Joe would be if he didn't have to look after his father and didn't have to run his father's hot dog stand, he'd be living somewhere else.
Yeah, I kind of get that.
Because he's a very sociable person, but he's put into a very unsociable place, which is where that hot dog van is.
That's a very interesting way of putting it. I don't think that. He's, I can't say he's the reason that they come together because he does help.
He is, I mean, in a lot of ways he is. He's the one who makes sure they get together.
That's a good way of putting it.
Whereas, like, Finn is the one who, I guess, is the link between the three of them, but he's the one that, like, forces them all together and forces them to hang out and stuff. And because he's got the charismatic, like, outgoing persona. And that's what I love about this, is that it's got a really subtle way of telling a different story. Because the story really is about, like, these three people meeting, becoming friends, developing that relationship, where it ends up. Yet everyone, you're right, has these kind of more three-dimensional aspects to them. They've all got a little bit of backstory, that's not the forefront of the story. It's rather the secondary element of the film.
Yeah, there is, You get acceptance in a film, people like accepting what they have, but it's beyond that.
And the moment of, maybe not acceptance, but the moment where it climaxes for Peter Dinklage's character, Finn.
We're in the bar.
Is very, very powerful.
It is powerful, but at the same time, I don't mean to put away this part, but like I felt like more could have been done to emphasise that moment. I know he's getting loads of shit through, but you'd expect him to have almost his breakdown earlier on. He's at the bar, he's drunk, everything's hazy. You see a couple of guys like not as harsh as they were before, and it's only the two of them that were there before.
Yeah.
No one else. Everyone seems to be minding their own business. So I was very surprised, but at the same time, this is the first time that you see Dinklage's character Finn get exceptionally drunk.
See,
Plus he's got the other issues on.
I think so. That's interesting because for me, I love the fact that it doesn't do that, because just the
unexpected.
Just the odd, like I think it speaks a lot about people who have to live with dwarfism, and like the fact that when he's in a bar, he's just having a drink. That's all he's doing. People are just looking at him, the odd glance, and then even, you're right, the people who like shouted stuff at him before actually come over and give him a drink.
Is that what it is? Because I didn't recall it. Is it actually giving him a drink?
Yeah, he comes over and gives him a drink, and that in itself is to him
is it like
horrible
pity? Yeah.
because
It's
if he was a regular guy sitting there having a drink, no one's going to come over and give him a drink.
I mean, they might have given him a drink because they were a dick early, but then again, they were a dick early because of his dwarfism.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's all
Okay,
just
fair
all
enough,
these
fair
little
enough.
things which, like, to him mean so much, but everyone else doesn't realize what they're doing.
And it's a great moment.
Yeah.
And it just shows that he's a testament to Peter Dinklage and his acting ability. The whole film is, but that moment especially.
And he does so much with so little dialogue.
Yeah.
Because his film, for him particularly, is so quiet.
And yet it's in contrast to Game of Thrones, in which he's famous for, Tyrion Lannister. He does a lot of the dialogue.
He does.
And arguably his best scene is when he's in the court. I won't go to which one of those. I haven't seen Game of Thrones, but in that court, the scene he won an Emmy for, you know which I'm on about?
Oh, the one where he beheaded a dragon. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I spoil everything for everybody.
No, Game of Thrones. You can't watch it anymore. So the scene he's notoriously he's notorious for, his acting ability, is that Emmy-won court scene, and you see Dinklage is his acting ability in that scene in the bar. You know, he's like, this is me, not this. And as many times he doesn't in Game of Thrones, he does have a lot of dialogue, but he doesn't in this. He doesn't, and there's some really funny moments drawing on that lack of dialogue where he's going up the tracks and you have the little girl Cleo behind him, and there's this amazing, excuse me, she's naive but to another level. There's this innocence that's it about her, innocence and naivety about her. Naivety?
Yeah. Naivete. Get our French on.
And the way she follows behind him, and he turns around almost like bemused, and he's just like, hi. And she runs away, and she has the funniest walk. The run. That run that she has is adorably funny. And it's like later on they become friends and helps her in class, and it's amazing. Like even her, like quite a small character, and she's massive. Another big shout out, big fan by the way, huge fan. And Michelle Williams is Emily, the librarian.
Oh yeah.
Did you notice Michelle Williams?
I didn't.
Because I recognised her, I was like, my God. Because she's off one of the film I really like called Blue Valentine. And I was thinking, oh, fuck, I know, I really recognise her, which is with Ryan Gosling. Great film. And I was like, oh, I recognise her. And then, oh man, she had this really, really like cuteness about her, the character, that again is like she was almost like compared very much to Cleo. Like they're both true to Finn, not for the reason he had dwarfism. The fact that they were just there, wandering at the same time, the same place.
Who's Cleo?
Cleo's a little girl.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
I mean, she just says at one point like something about.
I thought it was Chloe.
What class you're in? No, Cleo.
Cleo.
You know what class you're in. Apart from that, she's just mates with him. She's hanging out at the train. Yeah. Same with Emily.
I think that what they're maybe hinting at, they're not outright stamping it on her, but I think maybe what they're hinting at is that she has a sexual curiosity about being with Finn, and that's why Finn ultimately doesn't sleep with her. Because he's not willing to do that.
The film implies that. I can't say the character does for me. And the way the film implies that is it's when Joe's sat on the roof and he's saying, you thought about getting with, you've been with a normal sized person your height, he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Then I'm sure Emily happens after that.
Emily's already been introduced because the first time.
Yeah, but I mean, like when he kisses her.
Yeah, but you got to remember the first time they meet, she is like eyeing him up. She's already physically attracted to him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get that. But okay, fair enough.
But you make a very good point. Actually, I love the scene where Joe sits down and asks him, like, have you been with a regular sized person? Have you thought about being with somebody like your own height?
It's almost like Joe's
he's like, I don't want to talk about this. And that scene, by the way, you'll see down there, beautifully shot.
The whole film is.
The whole film's beautifully shot, but nothing punctuates, nothing stands out. What it does have is this wonderfully like tactile aesthetic to it. Everything's got a real texture about it.
Yeah.
Where he lives, like the clothes he's wearing.
Out in the country.
It's got a real like middle Americana sort of vibe.
Americana, no wonder you love it then, yeah.
I do love it.
It was really cool seeing. Go on, sorry.
One thing, it doesn't lean heavily into the Americana. As much as I love things like Route 66, they lean heavily into like Americana. This is so subtle in its delivery of it.
Give us a sec, right? Okay, so would a great example be of heavy Americana, Flagstaff? with all the railroad signs and stuff like that.
Yeah, a little bit, but even like Flagstaff is a real place.
It's
Heavy
amazing.
Americana
Flagstaff's
is
class.
like, think of an old school like Chevy, and think of like someone.
Oh, that place in Route 66 that we went.
Where did we go on Route 66?
With the elk burger.
Yeah, there's Heavy Americana.
Okay.
There's kind of like they're playing it up.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough, yeah. I really enjoyed that. I did really enjoy it.
It's a good elk burger.
Oh man, I do miss that. I miss America, to be honest. Yeah, it was really superb. Really superb. What can
So
yeah.
I want to jump on very quickly about your thing about subtle humor, little bits of humor. This is a brilliant moment. No one's going to care about it. It's got to go down there though. It's where Finn is sitting there reading his book, and Joe, I think, is also reading his book next to him, and Finn's got his feet up on the stool.
Oh, that's great.
Joe,
That's great.
Joe just tries to get his feet on in different positions, and Finn just kind of looks.
Yeah,
and
this is what you're doing.
just puts his feet back down.
Because you see that in the film that Joe, like, he enjoys putting his feet and stuff. He's got his feet very well. He's just, but it's that mutual acceptance, isn't it? That's when they start, that's them.
That's what
friends.
I mean. Like, and the fact that Finn doesn't recoil at that moment, it's such a wonderful, slow character progression for him.
It's acceptance of one another.
It's very well written, very well directed, and very well performed by Peter Dinklage, because it's not like he has these moments where suddenly now he's friends with them. It is just every scene kind of grows a little bit more.
We haven't really spoke much about Patricia Clarkson on that thing.
No, do you know what? Something about her as an actress annoys me a little bit. I don't know what it is. I'll have a think about what it is and come back to you, and if I can figure out what I'll tell you. And then when she's introduced, really annoyed by her when she's swerving all over the road twice.
Yeah, it seems
I'm
a
like,
bit excessive.
Oh, and at that point I was a little bit worried about the film.
Right?
But then from there on out, she actually plays it really well, and it's really touching when she has her breakdown.
Yeah.
And she becomes a very, very likable character because she becomes much more rounded. But yeah, the intro for her, I almost ruined it.
I'm really struggling to find the film that I most recognise her from. She's on Easy Air, which I've seen before.
So,
You with us?
did you know this is the director's first film?
It comes across like she's on Shutter Island as well. It comes across very kind of debut director kind of film.
Yeah.
One of those kind of things. But it is the director, Tom McCarthy.
Do you know what Tom McCarthy wrote? Or at least he's one of the writers on. He wrote Up.
I read this. I did read this when I went about the station agent, I did it before. And I was just like, what's Tom McCarthy done? He did write Up, didn't he?
Yeah.
And Up is a pleasant film. It's a very good film.
Well, I don't know if pleasant's the right word for it. It's heartbreaking.
It is, but there is some really pleasant.
The only
parts about
film
it.
I've ever cried. No, only one of two films I've ever cried at.
What's the other one?
I cried. I think I'm right in saying I've never cried at anything else. I cried at the end of About Time, just a little bit.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Not as much as Up, a little bit.
Saving Private Ryan, man. It gets every guy.
No, it doesn't get me.
Oh, fucking. Saving Private Ryan. And Forrest Gump, to be honest, as well.
Forrest Gump.
Yeah, so Tom McCarthy, he did brilliantly. Has he done anything since then?
He's done
did
bits.
Meet the
Yeah,
Parents.
he's done some other stuff. I think
he
he
write that?
wrote Meet the Parents. I don't think he directed it. He's done some other stuff, and I am kind of interested now to have a look at some of his other films and see if he's got a similar sort of style, or if that style eventually goes away.
I saw one there.
There was the station agent. Is that right?
The station agent.
Station agent. For some reason, I keep going to call it station master. So there's a station agent. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of the station agent, or you can hit us up on Twitter. We will be back next week once again with another episode of Film Club, where we'll review. Do you know what, Andy? Do the outro.
We'll be reviewing Serenity. So let us know your thoughts below on Serenity, and we'll see you next week.
I might be able to talk by next week.